the relationship. You can have the discipline to figure this out now, or pay for it every day you come to work for the rest of your time. The discipline or the regret. The choice is yours. Whatever you decide is okay with me. Okay. What we're hoping in this segment now until 4 o'clock is that you will have ideas and questions and maybe even some thoughts. Like maybe it's not even a question. Michael, yes, I got a guy back home and here's the situation. And are you saying, just want to make sure what you're saying here, that I can use this to talk to him and here's how it might go. And then I get a chance to tell you, yeah, that's exactly it. Or why don't you try this too? Or somebody else in the room can say, I have that problem also. Because it's probably true. We don't need to name any names. We don't need to incriminate anybody or embarrass anybody. This is learning, and we're all learning. Can we agree on that? Okay. So, does anybody have anything right now that's on their minds? Thank you, sir.
Do you see a correlation between the personalities and the birth order? For example, are directors often pioneers and socializers often the baby of the family?
Yeah, so Paul has a question about whether or not there's a correlation between, say, the birth order and the brain dominance, or the brain dominance and the personality analysis. And the answer is yes. A lot of times what you're hoping is that there's a correlation because that means the person makes that much more sense. Absolutely. It's not like comparing odd numbers to even numbers, though. It's different than that. It can be more subtle. But I think that's absolutely a good way to think about it. And you may find that one of the modalities works better as a measurement tool. It's not really measurement anyway, it's kind of guidance. As a guidance tool than some of the other ones. That's fine. But get started with one of them. And then you'll be that much further ahead. Thank you, sir. Where are you from?
Cincinnati.
I've heard of it.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah. I read Pete Rose's autobiography. Interesting cat. I know more about baseball than I do football. So I throw that in there. All right, anything else about stuff going on at home? This is be ongoing, so don't worry. Hi, Dave.
Hi. You had mentioned earlier about somebody that was, we're talking about self-esteem, and somebody that really, like yourself, you said yourself is a very confident person. Now, obviously, we're concerned about everybody's self-esteem. What indicators, other than the obvious, that somebody might be losing some self-esteem, but on a confident person, a lot of times could be an image that is not true.
Yes.
How do you recognize whether or not that person's having issues with self-esteem?
That's a good question. I mean, psychologists and psychiatrists are medically trained in this, or at least academically trained, and they often have to engage for weeks and months, and patient keeps coming in, Look at Tony Soprano. So it's hard to figure out sometimes exactly what's happening. So, but we know this, that if you just keep checking and you just keep asking and you keep the dialogue open, keep the conversation going, you're going to have a lot more clues than if you minimalize it and go Spartan. Don't talk much about it. And I'm talking to the guys in the room again, because the guys will give up. Guys will figure they've got it figured out. And when you think you have it figured out, that's the worst place to be. Trust me, you never have people figured out, ever. People will always surprise you. Good leaders know this. So I think keep asking, keep engaging, keep looking into different places in their life. We talked earlier about going all the way back home to birth order. Here's one of my favorite questions to ask people. You want to know how somebody got to be the way they are? You want to really, truly understand somebody? And this is key. Dave, what a great question. Do not try to change people. That's sometimes what people read into this. Oh yeah, I need to get this guy in the straight and narrow. No. This is not about changing people. It's about understanding them and relating to them and meeting them where they are. Do you understand the difference? If you're married, please stop trying to change your significant other. You're ruining the relationship. Let them be who they are and meet them there. You'll get your say. Try this line. I support you and whatever decision you make. Just knowing they support you, you could save 80 arguments. You can still get heard out later on, but it sets a nice tone for everything, so it's great. So here's my favorite question, Dave. And this is a weird one because it comes out of nowhere and you got to kind of stage it. Like I said earlier, you're on your way back. Geez, I'm embarrassed. I don't know anything about you. Where are you from? Cincinnati. Cincinnati. This is one of my favorites. Tell me about your family. Tell me about growing up. What did your dad do for a living? I love that question. Why do I love that question? Anybody?
Talk about history.
History? Yes, for sure. What else?
Personality traits.
Personality, yeah. See, Dad comes home every night and talks about work. And the kids, 5 years old, 6 years old, 7-year-old, just keeps taking it all in. If the old man was union, the kid grew up hearing about the union. Pro or con. If the dad worked for the Republican Party, he comes home and hears about politics. If the dad hated government and didn't trust anybody, the kid grows up a conspiracy theorist. We all come from someplace. And it's nobody's fault. But to the extent you actually take the time to understand somebody, the relationship improves. Sir, Chris.
What about a technician or an employee who fights depression
Yeah.
and goes from one side of the spectrum to another?
Yeah. So I don't know that I answered Dave's question either. Dave said, well, how do you know if somebody's losing their confidence or self-esteem? How do you know if somebody's suffering from depression? You have an HR department at Rose, I assume. And here's the reason I ask this. Depression is a clinical diagnosis. Confidence is not. Right? Sexual harassment. These are beyond your pay grade. And you need to call corporate about stuff like this. If somebody threatens to hurt themselves, if you learn that somebody's hurting their kids because they don't feel good about themselves, that is not in your job description. And by the way, I'm not an HR specialist, but you need to get a professional to weigh in on this, and these guys will help you. So depression and clinical stuff like that, suicide, right? That needs a private discussion, up the org chart, confidential. This confidence thing is just trying to get the person to open up a little bit. I noticed that you seem a little edgy lately. Is everything okay? Sometimes it's a specific question. Is everything okay at home? Just trying to get the person to open up a little bit and talk to you. And we see two problems. One is that they don't think you're approachable because you're the boss. And the other one is that they're not used to sharing because of what happened when they were 5 years old. So that's when it's just that constant ping, that knocking. Now, I had the pleasure of interviewing some of you before I came here today, which is why I know a little bit about you. And one of the things that was shared with me, and I'm pretty sure it's true for all of you, is that because society is moving to a more casual society, right? We're wearing fewer clothes. We have fewer, the language is getting relaxed. What's the other one? Texting, for example, is replacing email. Email replaced real conversation, real visits. So the problem with texting is it's shorthand. Again, heuristics, right? When I text you something, you sometimes even have trouble understanding what I'm saying because there's just not enough intel there, right? It's not an email. By the way, it's also not trackable. It's searchable to some extent, but at some point you clean up your phone, you delete all your texts. It's not official communication by most people's standards. So you have to open up more modalities, Chris, I think, and not just text people, are you okay? Because what's the answer going to be 95% of the time? Yep. Not even yes. Why? Or yep. What kind of answer is that? Yeah, you always know something else is up, but texting is laborious, man. I got to come at you again now. No, seriously. No, seriously, everything's fine. No, what about at home? Fine. Huh? No emotion, no nuance, no depth, nothing. And that's not your fault, except you chose texting as a modality. Here's another thing you can do. So you got texting not working, you ratchet it up. They call it in computer business, they call it escalating. You guys probably do that with trouble tickets and stuff. So you just escalate. No more text. From now on, it's phone call. And if it starts to become official business, email. because email is paper trail. HR loves a paper trail. You should love a paper trail. It shows over time. You okay? You're like, paper trail? Okay, good. I'm watching for signals and stuff, so sometimes I see you head nod, I'm good. If someone's forehead, furrows like a cornfield, I'm pretty sure you got a question. I'll try to figure it out. So I think these are ways that you can add richness to the relationship. But it's almost always going to be better. Please write this down. Better to over-communicate than to under-communicate. Almost every time. Does that help, Chris? Dave and Chris. I saw another hand. Yes, sir. Coming. I love it. I love that you're applying yourself and thinking about what's going on back home.
Hi.
You take it.
Okay. My question is, so looking at let me get back to mine. See the personality analysis, how, can you give us some tips on how to figure that out, how to easily figure that out, what kind of personality we're dealing with?
Yeah.
Some little tips on that. I think that would help because sometimes, we may think we're in one direction and we're not, and I think that'd be a helpful thing if there's something.
Well, remember I said earlier that you don't get to decide if you're a boss or a coach. Your people will tell you. It doesn't matter what you think, as weird as that sounds. Same thing with personality analysis. You can go back and scratch your head and put it on the whiteboard and try to figure out everybody on your team. But why don't you just ask them? Why don't you just tell them you went to a seminar, you learned this cool thing, look at the 4 quadrant, just put it up on a whiteboard once and have everybody come in and do the same exercise. Make them tell you. Make them sit through the 5-minute version of it and say, I was just curious. Do you think there's anything to this? Which personality do you think you would be? And see what they say. Because it gets people thinking. It gets people going.